When you went back and watched the film, how much of, I guess, the offense's struggles were inability to execute, and how much of it was maybe what Michigan State was doing with its front seven or otherwise?
Well, I think we didn't block as well as what we had expected, and we didn't play as well up front as what we thought we were going to, and I thought that had quite a bit to do with it, and I have to give them credit. They're good. I mean, that'll probably be a top 10 defense, and but we still moved the ball at times. We had things going, and we just hurt ourselves.
I guess in particular, and maybe it all kind of stems from the same source, but what do you diagnose not being able to get the run going that had been such a weapon through the first 3 games? What maybe wasn't really working there?
Well, it really came down to, in the run game, it takes everybody. And, that could be the offensive line with the tight ends. It could be the running back on their read, whatever. And there just times in that ball game where we didn't have everybody in sync. And, it might be one guy. And you got to have everybody in the run game. And so we just couldn't get in sync that way.
Did their ability to get pressure with their front inhibit what kind of throws you could call as well?
Well, yeah. When they're bringing so many guys, they're blitzing everybody, and that puts everybody on a one-on-one matchup. And if you lose one of them, you're in trouble. And so, yeah, you got to get rid of the ball quick, and, you can't hang on to it as much. We did have some throws down the field, and we didn't connect. We had, on the first third down, we had Reese coming out of the backfield. That could have been a big play. And the one they called interference on, I think it was on Donovan. That could have been another big play. We had other times too, but we couldn't connect on them as well.
Peyton said that the plan was to kind of focus on using, receivers instead of, the tight end as much as this offense normally does. What went into that game plan, and how do you think it played out?
Why we're not using the tight ends as much, or as last week? Last week, that was more a different coverage. And if you go back and look at it, we hit the tight end basically on one route all the time because it was open all the time. And so, the tight ends are part of the progression for the quarterbacks. And, sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not. And he's got to move on to another progression. So it's not that we didn't try or anything like that. It's, based on coverage. And they played multiple coverages like everybody does. And so sometimes the tight ends, don't get the ball.
I think Nick Westbrook has 11 catches in the first 4 games. Haven't really been able to get him deep. He just seems like a weapon that you guys, I'm sure you're trying to utilize more.
Yeah, we need to. It's, again, when you call a pass, you have no idea who's getting the ball. And it's all based upon coverage, what they're doing, whether the guy gets open or not. And so, Nick has been a big number one guy in our progressions a lot, and sometimes he just doesn't, the quarterback has to move on in his progression. So that's part of the passing game. It's not like you can, like Wap got 13 receptions. I couldn't have told you before the game he was going to get 13 receptions, and it just plays out that way. He didn't have that in previous games. You could have probably said that about Wap earlier, that, he wasn't getting a lot of touches. 3 here, 4 there in games, and now all of a sudden, bam, he gets 13. It's whatever happens on that pass when it's called based upon coverage, and you never know who's getting the ball.
I guess in a broader philosophical way, is there a desire to get more vertical in the passing game as the season goes on? And maybe was that tougher against a team like Michigan State when you were having trouble sort of holding that pocket?
Yeah, it was because of the pocket. I mean, when you're in the course of a game, whatever, and you're having struggles that way a little bit, the thing that I think about is getting rid of the ball quick. And, so we tried to do that as best we could in that way. And and plus, too, you saw us being able in the 2-minute drive there to throw the ball down the field a little bit more because, the defense had worn down a little bit. And so the rush wasn't as much. And they weren't blitzing either, They were basically playing coverage the entire time, playing 2 deep the whole time. So, in that situation, it's totally different than the game situation.
Peyton, once again, was around 70% completions. Is completion percentage has been outstanding all year. But Saturday the yardage per attempt isn't very high. Was Saturday partially compensating for the lack of running game, because the short passing game can do that?
Yeah, trying to make up for that a little bit, yes. Trying to, and they played a lot of man coverage, and we were trying to run some crossers, some guys that were running underneath guys that are, right around the 5-yard area, things like that, and you're going to catch those. And trying to get rubs that way and get guys open that way. So, but yes, to answer your question, it was, trying to keep the chains moving a little bit and being in favorable third down.